Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking 2-7 today. 2-7 is being able to solve equations with rational numbers. Remember, rational numbers are anything that you can write as a fraction. So we will be dealing with decimals and fractions while solving equations. So the process to solve equations, just like we talked about when we were solving one-step equations with multiplication, division, subtraction, and addition, we had these 4 steps. So if you need to write them down again, go ahead and write them down again. If you need to just a recap on reading through them, then read through them. But we're going to get started right away here with some actual math being done with these equations. Remember, the big golden rule is you do unto one side of the equation what you would do unto the other. And again, that's math being fair. Whatever happens to the right side must happen to the left side. So let's get started with the first problem. Is G plus 2.84 is equal to 3.62. Remember, when we started talking about these things, we want to move things away from the side that has the variable on it. So right now G is being added a 2.84 to it, so to undo that we have to subtract 2.84 from both sides. Now, some of you might like to draw that line here. That's not something that you necessarily have to do, but it is something that will help you to keep things straight if you need to. Remember, with decimals, that we line up our decimal places so that things don't get too goofy. Now, 2.84 minus 2.84 is 0, so on the left-hand side we have G entirely by itself, and then all we have to do is subtract. So 2 minus 4, we're going to need to borrow. So that turns into an 8. 5 minus 8, need to borrow. My cat and dog are fighting right now. That's pretty sweet. 15 minus 8 is 7. Decimal point comes straight down. So G is equal to a 0.78. Now what we will do is we'll take 0.78 and we will add it back onto the 2.84 just to double check our answer. 12, 16... So 3.62, we know it's good. Okay, so that's the process for solving these equations. It's no different than what we did before, except for now we're doing it with decimals and fractions. So speaking of fractions, here's one with fractions. So again, we're looking at the variable s, and we're trying to get rid of things that are happening to s. So happening to s is a minus 2/3. So to undo a minus 2/3, we have to add 2/3 to both sides. Now remember that when we are adding fractions, that you must have a common denominator. So between a 5 and a 3 is what we're really looking for now. Now me personally, I like to have these things side by side, so I have a negative 4/5 side by side, just to make things for myself to work a little bit easier. So common denominator between a 5 and a 3 would be a 15. One of them's negative, the first one, and we're adding them together. So this was multiplied by 3 to turn into 15, which means we have to multiply the top by 3 to get into be fair. So we have a 12 on top. The 2/3 that we added must be multiplied by a 5, both the numerator and the denominator, to make my new numerator a 10. So if I have a negative 12/15 plus 10/15, that's a grand total of 2/15. That's 12 bad guys, 10 good guys. So we have 2/15, and there's more bad guys left over. So my S is equal to, let's make that a little bit nicer circle. My S is equal to that 2/15. And that's pretty important that we know that information. Now again, you would throw that back in for the S and check to make sure, because there's no reason that we should get these things wrong, because you can check. Another example, to our variable C, it is being multiplied by 7/11. So to undo the multiplication of 7/11, we will have to divide by 7/11. Now, as we learned a couple days ago, when you divide by a fraction, that's our keep, change, flip. So we have 7/11 that's going to be divided by a 7/11. Keep, change, flip makes me be able to diagonally reduce, So I am left with just a c on this side. So I am again going to keep change flip. This is like it's over 1 because it's a whole number, and just because I've already done that, I can now rewrite it as 11 over 7, and I'm going to again diagonally reduce. A 7 can be divided by 7, a 21 can be divided by a 7, and what ends up as a result is we have a 3 for our new numerator and a 1 for our denominator. So top times top, 3 times 11 makes a 33, and 1 times 1 makes a 1. So 33 over 1 is the answer that we're looking for, where c is equal to 33. Just a couple left, folks. Now this problem is everybody's favorite because we're going ahead and we are multiplying a decimal to our variable, which means that we have to divide by a 9.7 on both sides. Divide by a 9.7. So t is equal to whatever 67.9 divided by 7 is. And for us to save time, I am going to go ahead and take the calculator on my cell phone and do 67.9 divided by a 9.7, and I get myself the answer of a 7. Now remember that because one of them is negative and one of them is positive, that my answer is negative. My wife is calling me right now. We're not going to answer it. Don't tell her that I told you, though. Last problem of the day is this word problem. You can determine the rate of an object is traveling by dividing the distance it travels by the time it takes to cover that distance. That means r is equal to the distance divided by the time. So in this problem, important information, obviously the formula, but if the object travels at a rate of 14.3 for 17 seconds. So we're going to plug these numbers correctly. So r was 14.3. We are trying to figure out how far, that's a distance, and the time was 17 seconds. Okay, so to the d, it is being divided by 17. So that's what's happening to our variable. When we divide by 17, the undoing of that would be to multiply both sides by 17. So those cancel, and then this d, the distance, is equal to whatever 17 times 14.3 is. 17 times 14.3, and I get the answer of 243.1. Now if we're talking about meters per second, how far do we travel? Well, the label would be then meters, and it's important that I label that. So the distance that this object has traveled is 243.1 meters. Alright folks, before I get yelled at from my wife and you guys get to hear all that information, I'm going to sign off, and this is what your assignment is for this assignment. And this is Burtman Nation signing off. We'll see you next time.